Thank you so much, Chairman Balboni, and especially to the members of the Board of Trustees, my old friend Peter Flaherty, Bill Casey, Peter Brown, and the rest of the board that's here today. This is a great honor for me as a local cop. I started out walking a route in Lowell on a late night shift, and here I am in the hallowed halls of academia, and it's such an exciting day for you. I had a chance to see the smiles and the sense of accomplishment and achievement on the part of the students and the graduates who came up here. So it's a distinct pleasure to be here. I worry though because I have to follow in the footsteps of my colleague Christina Rex, who killed it on the speech up here. So it's a hard task I have, but congratulations, Christina, to you and your lovely family who I had a chance to meet here today. I sat in these seats a year ago at another school where my daughter-in-law graduated with a law degree. So I know how you're feeling right now. You got things to do and people to see. My good friend, Father Sinella, is here, and he gave me, I guess, an admonishment before I started. He said he learned something in the cemetery, seminary, I should say, not the cemetery. But he learned something in the seminary, and he said they taught him that there is a fine line between a homily and a hostage situation. So I will take that advice to heart and get you out of here quickly. I started off, as I said, the son of a police officer in Lowell, and Chairman Balboni was kind in his comments about me, so I won't get into a lot of detail about what I've done. But I do have a couple of words of advice, or wisdom, if you will, after 40 years of being in the criminal justice system, to the people who are about to start their careers in a myriad of different things. The great thing about a law degree is its versatility. You can do anything with that credential. And so the world of possibility awaits each and every person who's in this room with that degree. But even more importantly, you have a sense of responsibility. You have a responsibility to your craft. You have a responsibility to your democracy. You have a responsibility to your clients to protect them. Winston Churchill said, "Never take no for an answer." And I agree with that. But when I was leaving public service, I met with Jack Connors, who is a good friend, or was a good friend before he passed away, and one of the most successful businessmen in Boston. And he said something to me that I'm going to share with you. He said, the most important thing that you're going to do in your career in the private sector is to say no. And he was right. With the degree that you have, and the foundation of the rule of law that you have learned over the last several years, you are the guardrails on society. You are the people who we look to for guidance to stay on the tracks and to preserve this democracy. You only have to look up the street to the State House, the scene of the Boston Massacre, Faneuil Hall, where people like Adams and other luminaries in the War of Independence spoke. Paul Revere, Benjamin Franklin. And then just a little bit down the street, on this very street here, on Tremont Street, at the Tremont Street Temple, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass gave addresses to maintain this democracy and to make sure that the rule of law mattered and that everyone was treated equally. You will be the warriors in this fight that is emerging. And so we call upon you to protect us. Let me tell you how I know this. I was a young lieutenant on the Lowell Police Department. I had just come off a wiretap case on organized crime, 1988. And I got a call to go to Carroll Parkway in Lowell at 1 o'clock in the morning. The head of organized crime in Lowell, a man named Jackie McDermott, had been brutally murdered by a man named Bill Banowski, who was a hitman for the mob. He was part of the Whitey Bulger crew. And they determined after this wiretap that McDermott was an informant for the FBI. And that word leaked out. And McDermott was killed, shot in the face. His son, Peter, was shot in the head twice by the same people. They wanted to leave no witnesses. But to their chagrin, Peter survived. I had a chance to talk to him that night in the hospital with 2 bullet holes, one in his mouth, one in the side of his head. And he told us Billy Banowski did it. And moments later, I stood in front of 33 Carroll Parkway with Tom Riley, who was then the district attorney of Middlesex County, and my mentor, and Bob Long, a detective lieutenant from the state police who we had conducted the wiretap with. And we had a debate about Banowski. And we were trying to decide whether or not we had enough to arrest him. And that debate was long and it was difficult. And in the end, the district attorney of Middlesex County agreed with us that we could take Banowski. I had a surveillance team on his house at Tercentennial Drive in Billerica, and he started to move. The decision was crucial, and it was made over the body of a dead human being. Banowski was taken into custody, tried and convicted and sentenced to life in prison, where he died 20 years later. But the bonds that were forged between Tom Riley, myself, and Bob Long continued to blossom over a 30-year career. We had respect for each other. We all knew our jobs. And that collaborative experience that we had that day made the rest of our career where we still are friends today, 30 years later. This will happen to you. You will meet people coming up through the ranks that will make enormous differences to you in the future. When I was a young detective, I met a brand new assistant district attorney. There were 2 of them that came into the Lowell District Court at the same time, Sharon Hansen and Carmen Ortiz. And I worked disorderly conduct cases with them. They covered my butt when I screwed up on arrests. We got to know each other and respect each other, and they were brilliant at their craft. And that made all the difference in the world. And years went by. We worked more important cases and more important cases and more important cases. And then in that fateful day, on April 15th, 2013, I stood over the body of Martin Richard and Lindsay Liu after they were killed in this horrible terrorist attack. And I paused for a minute as I stood there with shrapnel under my feet, understanding that someone had built an anti-personnel device, an improvised explosive device to kill and maim people in my city. And I realized I was in territory I had never expected to be in. But Carmen Ortiz, at the same time I was the commissioner of the Boston Police Department, had been promoted to be the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. And Sharon Hansen was my chief of staff in the Boston Police Department. These are people I met when I was 21 and 22 years old. Lifelong friendships, collaborations, respect. They say it's not what you know, but who you know. And I will tell you it's both. The foundation that you have under you now, after what you've done for the last several years, establishes what you know. Who you know will be established by the path you take, the incredible versatility of your degree, and the respect that you show for others coming up through the ranks. I implore you to do this for the good of the nation. 2 days after the bombing, we were hotly in pursuit of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev after having a shootout with his brother who was killed in the incident in Watertown. But Dzhokhar was still on the run. And I received a call from Carmen Ortiz, and she said, "Ed, I have to advise you something." And I said, "What?" She said, "You must order your officers to not provide Miranda warnings to this guy Tsarnaev if you catch him." And I stopped for a minute and I said, "Is this the United States Attorney?" I was shocked. But I trusted her enough and found out very quickly that the Patriot Act required different types of warnings and different types of investigative processes so the thing could be done right. The federal government had a special team of interrogation experts from the intelligence agencies and the Department of Defense that were standing by. And if any of my officers had inadvertently provided a Miranda warning, it would have eliminated the possibility to use that special team in an ongoing, high-level international terrorist event. So the law lives and breathes. It changes. But my trust with Carmen and my relationship over the years made that process go seamlessly. Within 5 days, we had either captured or killed both people responsible for that attack, and were able to put Boston back on its feet. And the other people that perished, Crystal Campbell, Sean Collier, Officer Dennis Simmons, they made that sacrifice to protect our country. And now we stand on the precipice of other challenges. Some threats are external, some threats are internal. But if you follow your moral compass that your parents and your religious institutions and your schooling has embedded in you, and you add to that the importance of rule of law and the very principles of a democracy, you can protect us in the future. I implore you to do so. Thank you very much.